Greetings, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. I want to go on record before I read this forum post that I really like Kabam Jax. Every time he talks, I find myself, sorry, fiance Israel, but I find myself having a little bit of a man crush. I feel like the guy and I would be best friends. We'd play Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars and talk about all the different mechanics of a great community and all the ingredients of what it takes to keep one for hours. But history in this world, in this timeline, in this multiverse, has kind of set us at odds. You see, Kabam Jax works for Kabam, and I'm sure he wants me to constantly praise them. And if you actually watch my channel and see the videos that sometimes get 300 views instead of 3,000 views, you'll know that I make plenty of positive videos praising Kabam even when I know that they won't get any views. Because I think it's important to still state for the record that Kabam has done a lot of great things. I love that we're in a weekend right now for the first time ever. You can get a deal for less than 30 cents. That's amazing. Something that used to be $2.50 is now 30 cents. That is the best way to get free-to-play players to say, well, I'll spend $1. I can do that. I can round up some tin cans and go to the recycling center, or I can go look for spare change underneath my couch. Underneath my family's couch, maybe. So, positive things happen every week. Sometimes every day. But this Kabam Jax post is addressing specifically resources for what I perceive to be Kabam's survival. You see, I think in the past, the Summer of Pain allowed you, because of very, very, very reasonable energy costs, to take a 5-star even and practice what could be hundreds of times until you soloed someone. And when you soloed someone, or you soloed the defender, I should say, you didn't have to use any resources. Now, yes, you had to use the time that it takes to practice, and that is a very impressive amount of a resource. But Kabam is not going to look at your time the same way that I just did in the example. How do we know that? Well, Kabam Jax says, would love to hop in here and add some additional insight. There are times where choices are made or systems are implemented when we know summoners are going to be unhappy. But those changes are deemed necessary. Okay, there is a lot to unpack in that opening statement. They know that they're going to make changes that they deem as necessary that are anti-player. Whether or not, and maybe we'll be debating about this for a long time, but if it doesn't happen, then I'll take a debate over reality. Maybe Kabam Mike was kidding when he said that Hercules would be nerfed. It was a terrible nuclear bomb to the community morale for that weekend, but they could say, we are going to nerf Hercules because we deem it necessary. Hercules is costing us what we think could be millions of dollars worth of revives and units and resources. And we created too good of a champion. We've done our best to nerf him in so many modes, from Battlegrounds to War to Necropolis, but we still feel like he's costing us too much money in incursions and event quests. And even though they've changed the Paragon Gauntlet rules, so you can't just use Hercules to go through that because he doesn't have the right tag most of the time. So they're still going to be able to say that we deem this necessary. So this is kind of introducing the argument for future nerfs of pro player moves. He says, just take a look at removing revive farming. Revive farming was a pro player experience where if you knew where to farm and what energy to use, you could still rack up those revives. And there is a rumor out there, which I refuse to do a video on because I don't want to bring any attention to something that could get patched, that there is still a place or two in this community to revive farm legally. You just got to know where to look. Now, for the record, I have not tried this out, but I have been told by people I trust that still do it that they've got their methods. He says, just because we know this choice is going to be unpopular doesn't mean they aren't warranted. And look, whenever Kabam bolds text, you know it's like your dad yelling at you. Sometimes there is a fundamental difference between what summoners want and what the game needs. Now, I hate that phrase. What the game needs is not what they mean. What they mean is what the company that makes the game needs. And what the company that makes the game needs is high profit numbers, high revenue numbers, high numbers to show their investors. Hey, the community may be dying in numbers, but the people who are still here are willing to spend more money than they've ever spent before because we're going to give them more opportunities to buy the same stuff they're used to buying. Instead of one early access bundle crystal, we're going to give them 10. If you want to spend 300 units, why not spend 3,000? Hey, instead of an early access bundle for cash where you could buy for $50, let's give Valiant players a $100 one. Oh, how about a 2 purchase limit? No, how about a 4 purchase limit? Oh, and how about we introduce a website that gives you market points and rewards you with more units on the site that we're paying 5% instead of 30%. All of this is connected. And so when he says, we've discussed this concept here before, those are some of those examples. What you're seeing in the live stream isn't us trying to sell you on the energy being a positive, because that would be ridiculous. Now, the energy discussed is the 5 energy per node that it takes, or the 10 energy per run for you to fight the Winter of Woe Defender. What I think they should have done is given us 2 nodes, but made the Defender the middle of the 2 nodes. So you spend 5 energy for the fight, and then 5 energy to complete it. That way, you're only sacrificing 5 energy every time you restart, but Kabam didn't want that. They wanted a full energy refill to essentially, if you're level 60, be 7 attempts. 7 attempts. And they thought that was a fair balance. And maybe it is. But if you're trying a really tough, let's say, easily annoying rotation like Sandman, for example, versus Absorbing Man, you might need more than that. Personally, my biggest problem with the Winter of Woe, which wasn't a huge problem for Hulk, but it is for everybody else, is I just refuse to spend the units to change my mastery setup multiple times. I don't like doing that. I find it to be exhausting, but I probably should just suck it up and do it to save some revives. We also spoke honestly about why this energy cost needs to exist. But for extra context, there are many players who would dive into this type of content. Practice, lose, and restart in order to work toward a solo. Which I thought that was the whole point of this, but I guess it's not. I guess we just either got too good, or Kabam wasn't expecting to see the numbers that they had hoped for regarding resource allocation last couple years. But we did this, even though we didn't do this last year. It's actually been like a year and a half since we've done this, which in the game context feels like forever. Literally requiring no cost to their account. I don't mean cost in a financial sense, but as we said on the stream, summoners aren't meant to get high rewards for literally nothing. Now, when we hear that, we're going to say our time is a lot, and they're going to counter by saying, don't say time. That isn't a relevant resource in the game's economical balance. I disagree, but this is also Kabam saying, if you say that you're giving us your time, we do not value it in terms of our resource. The only thing that free-to-play players are giving Kabam is their time. They are giving them none of their resources. So, this is Kabam Jax literally stating what people have said for years, that the game does not value free-to-play players. They wish there were 0 free-to-play players. That's why, hey, if you're going to be a free-to-play player, at least give us at this point 30 cents. We're that desperate for you to spend something. But free-to-play accounts are not going to exist any longer in the eyes of Kabam if they can help it. And if I'm them, I guess that makes sense. I probably would try the same thing, but it is a completely different culture from what years of playing this game have been. And of course, the best example of this is Brian Grant, but he's a professional at this game and does this full time. And a lot of people who are free to play are casual players who don't have the resources or skills that someone as great as Brian Grant does. Aside from restating what happened in the live stream, I'm not sure what the commentary is here. We presented information we knew wouldn't be popular from the community. But new was necessary from a game design perspective. Okay, so they've said first it's a game design perspective. We've got a game's economical balance perspective. They're kind of changing the argument in every paragraph if you break it down. If that's all, glad we're aligned. That's like a parent saying to a kid, you're grounded. Can we talk about this? No. This is what's necessary for our home economical balance. I'm glad we're aligned. But we're not aligned. Yeah, well, I'm just going to say we're aligned. If you want to know how this post fared, let's look at the numbers from this screenshot. 1 insightful, 50 disagree, 4 agree, 2 like, and 2 awesome. 50 disagree. Kabam just stated they want to end free-to-play players because they just stated that your time is not valuable to them in their economic model. Don't say time that isn't a relevant resource in the game's economical balance. So free-to-play players, your time is not relevant. You do not contribute anything to the economical balance of the game, so we're not even going to put up with the argument that you have value here. Wow. I don't think that I'm being a clickbait cracker, like some people say. I don't think I'm trying to make people outraged for no reason. I think I'm just interpreting their words as they're written down. This is a shot at free-to-play players' value. You don't have value in their eyes. If you're not spending at least some money, you're not contributing to the game's economical balance, and that's what matters. And look, I get the argument from a certain perspective, because if you were to spend no money on this game and everybody was just to throw their hands up in the air and essentially ban the game from their wallet and just go free to play, this game wouldn't exist in a month. You know, they couldn't pay their bills. So the game does need whales, but you also can't disrespect some of the people who still love it and just don't have the resources to spend money. There are people out there who play this game in middle school, high school. They don't even have access to a credit card. But, hey, don't say time. That isn't a relevant resource in the game's economical balance. Yikes.